Hi, everybody. Welcome to English Digest. I'm Stephanie.
And I'm Tom, and today we're again going to be talking about tuition reimbursement. We introduced this topic to you last time through a conversation between Harry and Angela. Harry was talking to his boss or his manager at the bank, and he was asking her some questions about this tuition reimbursement program. And some companies want to do this, but some companies are not willing to do this for various reasons, which we're going to get into today.
Yeah, well, some companies just aren't big enough, or as Tom mentioned in the earlier program we did, there's a lot of turnover at many companies where kids, maybe that's their first job out of school and they stay for 6 months or a year. Those aren't the kind of people that a company is going to be willing to do a tuition reimbursement program with because they want to get their investment back. They want you to use the education that they're paying for in your job with them. So let's go ahead. This is one of our normal units, you could say. We don't have a conversation. We'll have Tom read this, and then we'll be back to discuss it.
Some companies will provide tuition reimbursement programs for their employees, while others don't see the point. The latter might be thinking about the bottom line and wondering whether investing in their staff like this is worth it. While such programs may not work for every company, here are some reasons why they might. For one thing, paying for your workers' self-improvement helps companies not only attract high-quality employees, but also keep them. A tuition reimbursement program could give you an edge when it comes to recruitment. Workers who feel their companies are taking care of them feel more loyal to their employers. Therefore, they're more likely to stay on longer. Furthermore, they'll be happier, which in turn makes them more productive. Companies will also enjoy the benefits of having more knowledgeable staff. Educated employees are more confident and better at problem solving. Moreover, it's often more affordable to create your own experts rather than hire them. If a company trains its own managers, its team leaders and executives will be familiar with the company culture and products from day one. Of course, there is a risk that employees are seeking additional qualifications so they can leave the company for a better job. It's also possible that a worker's new skills won't translate into meaningful benefits for the company. Therefore, companies must decide whether a tuition reimbursement program is right for them.
Okay, guys, let's get started educating your employees. For some companies, it will be worth it. For others, it won't. So let's take a look here. Some companies will provide tuition reimbursement programs for their employees, while others don't see the point. You could be talking to somebody and someone's trying to get you to understand what they're saying, maybe even convince you of something, and you can say, I don't see the point. What's valuable, what's useful about that. And they need to keep talking so you can understand their point.
Some bosses don't see the point. What's the point? Why should I pay for one of my employees to go to school? They're going to use that information against me. They'll try to take over the company. They'll quit. They'll take some employees with them. It's just a stupid thing to do. But some companies actually think it's a good idea. Obviously, your company that you mentioned last time thought it was a good idea to send you to night school and stuff like that. But the latter, the second thing we mentioned in that sentence, the companies that don't see the point, the latter might be thinking about the bottom line and wondering whether investing in their staff like this is worth it. Now, when we talk about the bottom line, we talk about at the bottom of everything, the most important thing at the end of the day. And I think what our writer here is referring to is the money. The bottom line is they just don't want to spend the money. It's not worth it. They'd rather invest their money elsewhere.
Yeah, I would say probably 80% of the time when people are talking about the bottom line, they're talking about cost, money. But sometimes you could be talking about a plan you have, and maybe your friend just wants to know what's the bottom line. What are we going to get out of it? What do we have to do? But I would say a good 80% or more of the time, the bottom line is money. How much is this going to cost me? For parents, you might have a son or daughter who wants to maybe study abroad for a year, and they tell you all the good benefits of going, but you want to know the bottom line. What's it going to cost? So the latter, or companies that don't provide tuition reimbursement, they're thinking about how much it's going to cost the company, and they're also wondering whether investing in their staff like this is really worth it. Like I said, some people will go ahead and take the classes and disappear, or maybe not even use those skills to help the company.
Exactly. And also the word invest here as a verb is oftentimes used with the preposition in, to invest in the stock market, for example. And so some companies might think that, hey, it's not worth it to invest in our employees. It's not worth it. Well, some think it is worth it. It is beneficial to the company. It could help us expand our markets, attract more clients, whatever. And while such programs may not work for every company, here are some reasons why they might. So the purpose of this article has been spelled out here in the first paragraph. We're going to be talking about these tuition reimbursement programs and why they may work. They may work for various companies, and then also we'll talk about why they may not work for companies.
Well, for one thing, here's the first reason why they're great. Paying for your workers' self-improvement helps companies not only attract high-quality employees, but it also helps the companies keep them. If you're happy with your company, you're more likely to stay there instead of looking for another job. And my company in New York was pretty young. It was a startup company. Typically, it's more established companies that have more money that offer these programs. But mine thought it was a great idea, and they were right, because everybody wanted to take advantage of that and improve themselves, not only to get a better job, but just to be a better employee for the company they were currently in. So that's one thing. A tuition reimbursement program could give you an edge when it comes to recruitment. A lot of companies, especially the one I was in New York, recruitment was a big deal every year. We would go to the top schools and try to sign the best students up to come and work for us. So if you're looking for an edge, something that gives you an advantage over somebody else or another company, this could be it, offering this tuition reimbursement.
Right, you can attract those employees if they know that your company offers this, so that would be something that they would take into consideration. This company offers that program. Maybe it's a good idea to come and work for this company. They obviously value their employees. They're not going to look at me like I'm just sort of some peon or something who just takes orders from the boss. They might actually respect my education and my qualifications and stuff like that. So it could give your company the edge when we're talking about recruitment. And as you said, that just means getting people to come work for your company. Recruitment oftentimes is used when we talk about the military.
Right.
Military recruitment, like the army needs to get soldiers enlisted so that they can fight the enemy when they attack, stuff like that. And here's another advantage. Workers who feel their companies are taking care of them feel more loyal to their employers. So I guess this is part of what we were saying above here. If they attract those high-quality employees, that means the company treats them seriously. So you'll think, this company likes me. Well, I'm going to like them in return. I will feel loyal to this company. And if you're loyal, that means you don't forget the benefits that people gave you in the past. You continue to be a friend of theirs. Of course, we always want loyalty in our friends, don't we?
Yeah, but it's even better if you can get employees that are loyal to the company. Those people will, work as hard as they need to get a job done. That's what I wanted. I wanted loyal employees. Because if you, as a manager, give things to your employees or you treat them well, you expect to be treated well in return. That's loyalty going both ways. So, therefore, if you give them this opportunity to go back to school and take a class or maybe even sign up for a degree program. Some people actually get a master's degree or a PhD with some of these companies. They're more likely to stay on longer if you've done this for them. Furthermore, they'll be happier, which in turn makes them more productive. Because the bottom line, guys, and I'm using the bottom line, at companies is productivity. You want your workers to really do a good job and not waste time because you're paying them for a lot of hours they're there at work. You want them to be productive to get things done.
Right, so they will be productive and they will work hard naturally instead of just figuring out ways to waste time at the company and not be productive because if you're too productive, sometimes the boss will take advantage of you and make you work harder and stuff like that.
No, that's bad advice, Tom. Hey, everybody,
I've seen that before.
Be as productive as possible. You know, one thing that's been kind of disappointing to me is that management no longer trusts employees very, very much and make sure that they're not on the internet or checking Facebook. I work at several companies teaching in the evening, and I know some of them can't get onto Google and Facebook. So
they can actually block that?
Oh, yeah, they block it, which is kind of hard to get anything done. Sometimes you need information from the internet.
Some people think they can double task when they actually can't. Everybody wants to keep checking their messages and stuff like that, but that's a whole other subject. Let's continue now with the next paragraph. It says, companies will also enjoy the benefits of having more knowledgeable staff. Indeed, so these companies, if they're professional Fortune 500 companies or something like that, they will have staff or staff members, employees who are more knowledgeable. And if you're knowledgeable, that means you know a lot about something.
Yeah.
Some bosses may be afraid of that. You know, if the employees know too much, they're going to scheme and try to take over the company and stuff like that, or try to steal money from the company or something like that. But, you know, if you're a professional company and stuff like that, you might appreciate having employees that know stuff that can help benefit your company, as long as you recognize their contributions and reward them accordingly.
Right. Well, educated employees are more confident. That's a good thing. And they're better at problem solving. One of the things that I loved having about employees was knowing I could take a day off or even a week off. And if something happened, my employees could use their brains and figure something out that I didn't need to be there all the time. If you're confident, it means you have a lot of self-assurance. You know that you have skills and you're not afraid to do something. Confidence is really important, especially at work. And if you're a good problem solver, you're somebody the boss is going to love to have around because sometimes bosses get tired of solving all the problems. We want help. So those are some things that companies will enjoy if they offer this tuition reimbursement. Knowledgeable staff, confident staff, staff that can problem solve. Guys, I wanted to mention quickly, staff is non-count. So all the people that work in one company, they're referred to as the staff. But if you're talking about staff at different companies, then you can add an S, but try not to ever add an S to staff.
The same applies to crew, a crew on a boat or a plane, or the audience members. You have to say it's a similar thing, a group noun. But again, they like the confident employees. They're good at problem solving, so the boss doesn't have to work so hard. Moreover, it's often more affordable to create your own experts rather than hire them.
Yeah.
It's more affordable. If something's affordable, you can buy it. For me, a bicycle is affordable, but a car is not. It's too expensive. I only make 50 NT dollars an hour doing this job, so if I want to buy a car, I'm going to have to work here for many, many years. So I can afford a bicycle, but I can't afford a car. The bicycle is affordable.
Yeah, I can afford a car, but I can't afford a Ferrari. Okay. So, yeah, it's often more affordable to educate the employees you have, especially if you hire kids right out of college. You know, It makes a lot of sense, and you'll get some loyal workers that way too. Now, if a company trains its own managers, its team leaders, and executives will be familiar with the company culture and products from day one. Day one means the day they start. We'll often use that phrase. She was great from day one. You know, some people, it takes a little while for them to be comfortable in a job at a company, but there are others who are great from day one. Now, if you train your own managers and team leaders and executives are those managers in upper level positions, they'll be really familiar with the company culture. You can know a lot about a particular industry, but every company has its own way of doing business. That's the company culture.
That's right. You don't have to hire somebody new who's going to have to learn the ropes all over again.
Yeah.
It will take hours and hours to train them. And again, they may not get along with the employees. If these are people who already work for the company, they know each other. They're like family. They trust each other. They love each other. They go to the company picnics all the time. They take the company trips to Singapore or whatever every year.
Yeah, right.
And they just have a great time. And they're friends for life. Okay, now moving on to the next paragraph, the final paragraph for today, it says, of course, there is a risk that employees are seeking additional qualifications so they can leave the company for a better job. Yes, they aren't all angels. Some of them may be scheming. They may have some plan up their sleeve.
To cheat the company.
I'm just going to tell them that I'll work here for 2 years, but I'm not really going to work here. I'm going to get the qualifications, and then I'm going to take that job in Singapore and make twice the money there.
Yeah, but remember, most of these companies can come after you for the money after you leave, so don't do something stupid. When you have qualifications for something, it means you have qualities or accomplishments that make you particularly suited to a particular job. So maybe some of the qualifications that are required to be a doctor include, a degree from a medical school, lots of training at a hospital. Those are your qualifications. So a lot of these employees, they're seeking additional qualifications so that they can leave their current job and get a better one. But most of the employees that do the tuition reimbursement program, you can trust them. Every once in a while, someone will be trying to do something sneaky or tricky, but most people are pretty honest. It's also possible that a worker's new skills won't translate into meaningful benefits for the company. Maybe they do take a class, but they're never really able to use those skills in their current position or within that company. Yeah, maybe then the company would be not so happy about having given them some money for tuition.
Exactly. This is a tricky phrase here to translate into, which means they won't be applicable or they won't apply to the company. They won't be useful in the company.
You can't convert those skills into something you can use. Yeah.
Exactly. Maybe Harry's going to get those accounting skills, but when he comes back to the company, they just won't really help the company. They'll be like, yeah, they're good skills, but they just don't happen to work for our company. We do things slightly differently, so they may not translate into benefits for the company.
For example, maybe you're in France and you take a pastry cooking class, and with those new skills, you try to get a job in New York. But they make pastry differently in New York, so your new skills don't translate into a job in New York City. So you just can't use them. You can't convert them into something where you can use them. So got to be careful with that. Companies need to decide whether that tuition reimbursement program is right for them. So here are the pros and cons in this particular article. We're going to listen to our Chinese teacher for a minute, and then we'll be back to talk about some of these discussion questions.
Hi everyone, my name is Jenny. 今天我们继续来看第3单元。好，我们提到要讲员工进修补助这个事情对公司来说有什么好处有什么坏处呢？我们来看一下这篇就要探讨。基本上呢，这个对于让员工去进修然后你补助他，这个做法并不是每家公司都认为很重要，所以这边要提醒大家的是 some while others。 好，我们看到有一些是觉得好，可以 while others， 这个 while 它本身这种连接词它就是有一种前后对照的语气，所以你用 while 这个字就是相对的 另外有人就不觉得 Don't see the point， 不觉得这有什么重要的。好，那我们就来看后面这个看法的 The latter指的就是后者，也就是不以为然，不觉得让员工去进修很重要的这样子的公司，他们可能考虑说，这种方法来投资员工到底值不值得？好，我们再往下看到了，他说到值不值得 ，worth it 这个片语当然跟 worth 本身的字有关 ，worth 就是值多少钱？值什么代价？所以如果你讲一件事情 it's worth it， 就是值得哦。好，那因此公司既然觉得不一定值得，所以也就是说这种计划不是每一间公司都行得通。那谁觉得行得通？他们其实有理由的，我们就来看看为什么让员工进修，然后你补助他是有好处的。好，以下呢这2个段落就告诉大家好处在哪里。首先 for one thing， 好，这个所谓的转折词，它的意思就是我们要举例说明，或者是你要解释原因。好，谈第一点，首先就是说你付员工去进修，其实可以让这家公司吸引到高素质的员工，而且让你可以留得住员工。好，这边 not only but also， 注意到这个片语我们常见，当然这种连接词片语前后是对等的，所以前面呢他提到不光是High quality employees attract high quality employees， 这个动词片语后面相对的也就是 keep them， 留住他们，前后2个都是动词片语。好，那接下来就这一点来说，我们再加以引申哦。其实呢，如果你在招募员工，然后你说我们这公司啊，它有进修补助计划，其实这种可以让你的公司 give you an edge。give you an edge 就是你就会有一个优势，因为员工基本上他们当然不是笨蛋，他们会觉得公司是在照顾他们的，那他就相对的对这家公司会比较忠诚。好，后面他当然有说了，那这样子的话员工就会待比较久，那相对之下 they'll be happier， 也会比较快乐。好，后面逗点 which in turn makes them more productive， 知道吗？逗点再接 which，这个也是看过很多次了，不过就是像这种非限定用法的 which， 在这里指的是前面这件事，也就是 they will be happier， 他们比较快乐这件事也会让员工呢工作更有成效。再来呢，他后面又说还有这个创造自己的专家，而不是去别的地方雇佣别人，这通常对公司来说是比较负担得起的。看到这句话 It's IT， 这个其实是一个主词哦，是虚主词哦，它讲的是指后面这整个 to 不定词片语所讲的内容。换句话说，你现在呢，你制造出比较好的员工，比较能够有专长的员工，而不是再去聘用的话，其实你要付出的钱相对的是还是比较少的哦。好，也就是说公司这样做是有好处的。那当然咯，他后面还有继续进一步解释，不过我们就往下看一下他的结论。说起来，其实让员工进修还是有它的风险的。我们也了解，也许这个员工学到了这个技巧之后，他会离开，然后去找更好的工作。也就是说啊，员工学到新技能，可是结果却不能变成对公司有用，这是有可能的哦。好，我们来看这个结构上又有一个 IT 一样的当虚主词。那它指的就是后面的 that 子句，后面这个 that 子句里面说到员工新技能没办法成为对公司有用的，这一件事其实是 possible， 是有可能的。好，这样子的用法要记得哦。我们今天的讲解就到这边结束，下次见。
We're going to take a quick break. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Okay, it's time for our discussion questions. Here's the first question.
Okay.
If you were a boss, would you have a tuition reimbursement program? Explain your answer.
Wow. If I had a big enough company, I would do it. I think for a small company, it's really hard unless that small company is making a bucket load of money. It's a tough one because I don't know. It'd be hard. If I had some really great performers and I wanted to keep them as employees, forever, I would totally try to do it because that's something I think is important. I would like a boss who would pay for this. Yeah.
If I were a boss, I just don't know if I would use this program. I have a feeling that employees really can't be trusted, I suppose.
You're terrible. Oh.
In some places, maybe they can, maybe they can't. I don't know. I would have to have the experience with this, but evidently some companies do offer this program, and I'm curious as to how many companies here in Taiwan offer this kind of program versus places, say, in Europe or Japan or whatever. What's the comparison there between the companies or the countries and their corporate culture and stuff like that? It would be an interesting question.
Well, I can tell you that when I was at Zhengda, I was in the MBA program, and they have what do you call it? An executive MBA program.
Okay.
And those companies were sending their employees to school. That program wasn't cheap either, but they were paying for their managers and upper level executives to get an MBA. I thought that was pretty cool. Most of them were international companies, but there were also people from, for example, some computer companies in Taiwan.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like Asus. Yeah.
Okay.
Acer,
So it's possible. It's done here as well. So this is probably something you students out there would be more qualified to talk about, at least in terms of how this applies to the local industry, the local economy. And here's another question. Would you be more likely to join a company that had a tuition reimbursement program?
Yeah.
Explain your answer.
Yeah, I definitely would. I love to go to school. And it would be nice for the boss to pay for the class. But, of course, you have to take courses that can be used at work.
Right.
I couldn't take a sewing class and expect to use it. No. If you can find some classes that you're interested in that would also help your company, I would go to the boss, even if your company doesn't have a program, and see if they'll start one, maybe just for you. What's going to hurt? It's something that bosses will probably like proactive people. I like people who are proactive that don't wait for something. They go ahead and ask. So, try it.
Might be interesting if a company offers things like yoga classes, which might help your performance on the job or something like that.
I know a company right here in Taiwan. It's in the financial industry, and they offer yoga. They offer aerobic classes, and they offer, what's the other one? But isn't that great?
Be cool. Yeah, they obviously recognize that these things would benefit their employees and hold on to them.
Cool.
They won't be willing to quit so easily. Okay, that brings us to the end of our lesson for today. It's been a very enlightening and illuminating discussion so far, so hopefully all of you can have just as wonderful discussions amongst yourselves as we have just had. Okay, so that brings us to the end of our program. Thank you for joining us. From all of us here at English Digest, I'm Tom.
I'm Stephanie.
Goodbye.
See ya.